Hey everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be talking about The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. Why? Because The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, the final movie that takes place in Middle-earth, is coming out very soon, and I already reviewed all the other Lord of the Rings films and the last Hobbit film, so I said, okay, well, before the third one comes out, I better finish it off with The Desolation of Smaug. So here I am with my review. Let's get started about what I think. First, let's start off with the cast. This is a great cast of dwarves, elves, wizards, and so on. I think everybody in this movie is really nicely casted and very talented, especially the characters that I'm going to be touching upon. Starting with Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins, who we saw in the first movie and in the original trilogy, the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. He was played by Ian Holmes, and now he's being played by Martin Freeman, who is excellent in this role because he has this level of drama and comedy within him. He definitely has a really funny side to him, which is actually kind of the reason why I like Bilbo a lot more than Frodo, who was always whining and complaining and had his bromance with Sam. Another character I really enjoy is Gandalf the Grey. I mean, who doesn't love Gandalf? Gandalf is like, if there's one character you had to bring back for this Hobbit trilogy, it's Ian McKellen as Gandalf, because like I've said in all the other reviews, Ian McKellen is just badass as this character. He shows that you can be a 70, 60-year-old man, whatever, and still have a badass side to yourself. This is why Ian McKellen rocks. And plus, he gets all the best lines, let's face it. Then we got Thorin Oakenshield. You know, this guy is awesome. He is like the Aragorn, I feel, of this trilogy. Except he's not as good as Aragorn, but he is still a pretty interesting character because he is the king of this fallen kingdom. And, you know, he's trying to reclaim his throne as king. And there's also a little conflict within him, it looks like, because he's a tormented soul for sure, and what he's doing could also be out of greed as well, because it looks like, especially in this movie, we learn that about this prophecy that foretells that, you know, the dwarves will one day go back and regain their kingdom. And Thorin, I think, knows this, and we see a little bit of greediness within him, that he is obsessed with reclaiming this, and no matter what the price might be. So, you know, this guy, obviously there's a lot to him that it will be fun to see how the final film closes his story, because we know he doesn't, or at least I never read the Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit books, so I don't know what becomes of Thorin Oakenshield. So to me, it's going to be interesting to see how his story concludes in the final film. I also gotta say, a lot of the dwarves this time around were, unlike the last film where I felt Thorin and Balin were the two dwarves that like were really the important ones, I feel that a lot of the dwarves, some of the other ones, get a little bit more you know, time to shine, which is really fun. Specifically Keely. I'll get to that in a minute though, but there's a lot of great moments. For an example, the one that pops, I think, in everybody's head is the scene in the river where they're all in the barrels, which is probably one of the best moments in the movie, especially for that, I forgot the name of the dwarf, but it's the fat one. Like, he definitely steals the show on that part of the movie. And there's some other dwarves which actually stand out a little bit more, unlike the first Hobbit film where everyone's just feels more like a collective. And it's really good to see some of the dwarves start to come out on their own a little bit more, especially when they're split towards the end, maybe the last hour, when the dwarves, 4 of the dwarves stay behind while the rest of them go to stop the dragon. I think those 4 dwarves definitely got a little bit more time. We got to see them and learn, not learn too much, we got to just see them on their own and see what they're like without Thorin or Balin around, and let them, you know, do some stuff. Going back on Keeley, I have to say, you know, I don't mind the character. I just feel his romance with Tariel, played by Evangeline Lilly, I feel that the romance there was kind of dumb. Or at least it didn't click to me. I didn't feel that there was that connection there. I didn't feel the romance like how it was with Aragorn and Arwen from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I feel like this is Peter Jackson. You know, I feel like they didn't have a romance in this trilogy, and so they're like trying to force a romance on us when it didn't really need it. I think there's a lot of great movies out there that have proven that you can do these type of films without having two people fall in love. Not that there's anything wrong with people falling in love, it's just sometimes you don't need it, and I feel this romance felt a little bit forced. Speaking of Evangeline Lilly, you know, I gotta say, she is amazing in this movie. She is gorgeous. She is also Canadian, and I'm not being biased just because she's a fellow Canadian. She just is naturally a great actress. I remember seeing her on Lost, which was, you know, a show that I was a really huge fan of, and she was also in Real Steel. So it's great to see that her career is continuing to evolve, because she's also going to be in Ant-Man next year, which I'm really excited about. So in this movie, she really is badass, and she has sort of a relationship with Orlando Bloom's character, Legolas. That's right, Legolas returns in this movie, and man, he once again has some of the most badass action sequences. This is why Legolas, Aragorn, Gimli, and Gandalf are some of my favorite characters. They are just badass characters. I love them. And it's really cool. I was thinking about it while watching some of his action sequences. It's actually cool to see Legolas going solo in this movie, because it's like, now he doesn't have Aragorn, like, stealing his spotlight, you know. Now he can actually do things on his own and show us what he can do on his own. And it's going to be cool to see, like, how's his reaction, because did we see his, I don't remember seeing his reaction in this movie when Tariel and Keeley were having that, you know, love affair going on, because it seemed like Tariel was supposed to be with Legolas, and I'm kind of confused on where Legolas stands on that part, because it seems like he likes her too, but I guess we're gonna have to wait and see how the third film, you know, concentrates on all that. Speaking of Legolas, we also have his father here, who is a douchebag, and clearly he's conniving something. You know, there was a great, in the extended version of An Untold Journey, in the last Hobbit movie, in the extended version, there was a great scene that showed how the rivalry of the dwarves and the elves started. And in this movie, you get the clear picture that this guy is not really a good guy. He has his own agenda cooking up, you know. And it's going to be fun seeing what his revelation, you know, how his story ends in the next film, because I'm very curious, and to see how Legolas will treat this whole situation. Will he realize that his father isn't like a good king, but, or, you know, it will be interesting for sure. Then we got Luke Evans as Bard, and I think he is a great character in this movie too. Great actor, of course, and it's great to see where his character stands, you know. At first he's helping the dwarves, but then he realizes who Thorin is, and he doesn't want them to succeed on their mission, because he knows about the prophecy and the shit that might happen if the dwarves do what they're supposed to do. And, you know, he also has a little bit of, you know, not so good of a name, because one of his ancestors failed at protecting the city because of the dragon. So, you know, there's a lot of good setup here for the last film. So I'm really excited, you know, because these characters definitely have a lot going for them. And I feel Bard, it could be, he could have his shining moment in the next film, and I'm looking forward to that because I want him to succeed. You know, I think he should be the hero that people should be looking up to, because he does seem like a really good guy. You know, looking after his town, the poor people, and that shows the master of a true hero, I guess. And then we have returning Radagast the Brown, who actually has a small role. And you know, I was a little harsh maybe on Radagast in the last review, because yeah, I mean, the bird poo, that's just wrong. I mean, does the guy even take a shower? So, but thankfully, you know, he doesn't seem as annoying to me in this movie. He actually seems alright, and I actually laughed at one of his little one-liners. So I thought Radagast was okay here. I don't know if it was because he had a shorter amount of time or just because he was used more effectively here. I think I enjoyed it, and I think he's gonna become useful somehow in the next film. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. Not only do we have some returning characters and new characters, but we also have the movie setting up Sauron's Return. They kind of hinted at it in the last Hobbit movie, but this is the movie that really confirms that Sauron is on the horizon and setting up for his return in Lord of the Rings, who we all know returns. There's this whole story that Sauron's been dead, or at least everyone thought he was, and this kind of sets the seeds in motion for Lord of the Rings to happen, and I'm curious to see how it will all conclude. And I'm already hearing a lot of really good reviews about, you know, Battle of the Five Armies, and I heard it really ties up to Lord of the Rings nicely. So I can't wait to see how all of this, because I'm kind of confused right now. As someone who's only, you know, who hasn't seen the final film yet, I'm a little confused at how they're going to do it. So it's something, once you're in the first two films, you're wondering, okay, well, if Sauron's coming back now, how are they gonna, like, because he's not supposed to come back now, so how are they going to, like, fix this? And I guess we'll just have to wait until the third film to really see how they accomplish this. Finally, let's get to the character who's on the title of this movie, Smaug. Smaug is a dragon that, in the first movie, it was revealed that, you know, this dragon took over the Dwarfs' mountain. This is why the Dwarves have been on this journey, to get rid of this guy. And this dragon is gorgeous, not just to look at, but to hear him. And funny enough, he's voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch, who sometimes sounds like Alan Rickman to me. You know, the guy who played Snape in Harry Potter. I think this guy is an awesome actor, and to hear his voice playing alongside Martin Freeman, for those of you that don't know, Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman both play Sherlock Holmes and Watson in the BBC series Sherlock. And if you didn't know that, go watch Sherlock, because it's an awesome show. So yes, Smaug is an amazing character, and seriously, the last 40 minutes will have you at the edge of your seat. This dragon definitely tries to go after these dwarves once he realizes they're there, and he tries to kill them. Even the conversation with Bilbo is intense, because you don't know what this dragon is going to do, and he is so large and so fierce and so scary that you think, wow, you know, Bilbo, he could die. Any of these dwarves could die. And there were moments where you do think that. And man, the dragon, the CGI in this movie, especially on the dragon, is amazing. It's breathtaking, especially if you're watching this on HD, which you have to. You have to have a Blu-ray player and watch this movie on HD, because he looks fabulous. The detail on this guy is amazing. And the battle with the dwarves was amazing. And then they end you with a cliffhanger that will have you yelling at your TV and possibly even throwing something at it, because you have to wait a whole freaking year. But guess what? Now I have to wait 2 more weeks, and then I can finally see it. So I'm excited about that, and that is awesome. By the way, I just watched the extended version today, which had a lot of pretty good scenes and some scenes that I, thank God, was cut out of the theatrical version. But one scene that I do want to bring up that I think if you want to check out the extended version, definitely check it out. Because there's one scene, especially towards the end. You know when Gandalf goes to find where the source of evil is and he gets captured by the Sauron? There is a little surprise for some of you there. I don't want to spoil it because I think it's a good surprise. And it does sort of involve Thorin. And check it out because I did not see this extended scene coming. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, okay, that was a twist. And at first I didn't know what to make of it because it looked like Gandalf was like in a prison and there was a homeless guy like running around down there. I thought it was gonna be like Golem Part 2, and then it actually turns out to be something else. So if you get the extended version, or if you haven't seen the extended version but you loved Desolation of Smaug and couldn't get enough of it, go check out the extended version. Believe me, it's definitely worth it, especially for that scene towards the end there. You'll know it when you see it because it's like, this wasn't in the original version. You'll be saying that to yourself. This isn't in the original version. So believe me, go check it out. So final thoughts. What did I think of it? I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. It's not my favorite Lord of the Rings or Hobbit movie. Actually, out of the Hobbit movies, it's so far my favorite. Out of the Lord of the Rings movies, adding those ones into the mix, it's not my favorite. I still love Two Towers. I still love Return of the King more. It's probably my third favorite. It comes after those two, definitely. So I liked it more than Fellowship. So it's, yeah, my third favorite out of the franchise. And I definitely think people, if you were disappointed with the last Hobbit movie, An Unexpected Journey, check this one out. You'll probably be surprised. And the dragon is just, you know, the last hour of the movie is definitely worth it. It will make up for everything from the first film. So and I like the first film too. You know, I gave that one also an 8 out of 10, but this one is just slightly higher. Maybe more like an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, a lot of great moments. Obviously there's going to be those, because it's like a 3-hour film. Obviously there's going to be those moments where they could have cut this out or speed it up or something, but for the most part, it's a great film. Check it out, guys. And now I am ready for the final Hobbit movie, man, and I can't wait. So until 2 weeks, stay tuned for my final Hobbit review. So thanks.